what am I likely to see for failure of appreciating what an architect does on my project?
But what I mean by bad design is it has no condition of occupancy where someone is comfortable. You're wondering how someone will cook, and it's like half a meter. You're cooking, there's a fridge, it's supposed to be a cooker, there's a wall, it's supposed to be a sink. Messed up design.
I was interacting with my contractor friend, and he was saying that he has a client who is a Kisi, and and one of the rules were like, my house has to have 2 doors. I think it's a cultural thing.
What are some of these mistakes, oversight? My tribe mates would say ignorance, but what things do people ignore? They misuse that word. What are people ignoring? What are people overlooking? What are people not doing that is making the situation worse?
If you go to Dandora, there is a different temperature around that place.
Oh.
It's not just the smell, it's not that it's ugly. If there is gases, but also there is so much heat coming from the dumping.
Like from that pile?
Yes.
Hello, karibu kwa Mjengo podcast episode 8. Hata kabla tujaendelea sana, I think Nairobi is raining sana. I don't know how it has been for you guys, but mimi niliona a river in Nairobi West the other day. The sad part is that tumerudi tu pale tulikuwa. I don't know kwenu kulienda aje when it rained.
So this past like couple of months imekuwa tu sawa. The last rainy season kwa parking lot ili flood, could not leave to go to your house. Yani ilikuwa almost a foot high, and we are on a hill, so ni mtu uko chini alikuwa ameziba maji.
Because basically when the ground is sloping,
giant flood.
Flood. So it's those concrete structures.
Something blocking.
I don't know how your experience was.
Maybe on my side, I was recently in Mukuru. Obviously, as in it's near a river, so it was flooding at some point. But this is very controversial. The eviction kind of helped the flooding. Like the flooding are not getting into people's house now. My water is flowing freely.
Which means now the people are out of harm's way.
Yes, but what's making floods to get into people's houses is the drainage. Maybe you'll get some places you make on a clogged drainage and water can't pass very well. So that's where when you get flooding to happen. But
I think I was for me I was coming up from Mombasa Road. First jam, Nairobi just rains, and it's like cars also rain. Yani like gridlock. 10 minutes of rain in Nairobi. Just traffic jam, and then around the roundabout around Nairobi West, Madaraka there as you head to Strathmore. The road is a river. Like it was a river, and the curb on the side is raised, so like all this water from all these high-rise estates was flowing into the river. I was just about to say the river. Flowing into the road. For 1 minute nilikuwa najiona zile picha naonanga huko online za flooding. Like I never felt, when you drive, you can even feel the resistance of the water. Saizo umebeba familia na watoto nini. But I think that is a very serious issue. But before we get in, allow me to, in case we have new followers and new listeners, so that we can introduce ourselves. My name is Steven Derito. I'm a content producer at Mjengo Digital.
I'm Brenda Nyawara, architect.
And I'm Brenda Ngoya, an urban designer. Excited to be here.
Wacha niwaambush tu kitu, Brenda. What do people think architects are and they are not?
Hey, they call us engineer. They say we are architects. They don't know what we do. I think they have an idea, but they think we are so far off. Yani, we are not. We're not them.
some of them they think lakini si nyinyi ni wachoraji wa nyumba.
Yeah, wachoraji lakini
Unaweza
lazima najichorea. Mimi najua design. But then we are needed.
Kuna design.
Kuna design. But we are needed. We do a lot of good work, and there are others out here who do work calling themselves architects here. So you can clearly see an architect is needed.
But for the longest time, you guys have also been like project managers.
Yeah.
For the longest time.
We were everything.
Yes,
Engineers came, quantity surveyors came,
manager.
planners came. It was initially the master builder who did everything.
Okay. Ati nani mnafanyanga nini?
Hey.
Kwanza nini
Exactly. I think it's worse for us.
Yeah.
Very few people, even if I'm in a professional setting, I have to introduce and
it takes
explain
time.
to explain my role. But people confuse us with urban planners. But I think it's near
are there other two names that may pop up around urban? Ama is just urban planner?
And yeah, ni planner tu.
Lakini kuna siku hapa umesema nani amesema urban designer hapa?
Urban designer.
I'm an urban designer.
Yes. So urban planning, urban design.
Mnataka difference?
Yeah.
Okay. Urban designers, urban planner, they deal with a larger area like county, but also they look into policies and laws. For designers, we are very specific, like the area between buildings. There's an architect who does the building. Now there's a planner who does a whole county. Now there's these spaces between buildings that has no one. Now mostly in public spaces. That's where urban designers come in. But for us, we don't deal a lot with policies. We are expecting like planners will already have policies, but we might deal with the small details, like the experience a person has from, let's say, from a school to home. Yeah, from work to home. Like at some point, I see ourselves as storytellers for people's life. Like what's the feeling they get when they transverse public
creativity
setting.
Kwa hii kazi yenu pia. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll come back to that, by the way, before we get to the topic of the day, because we'll get to it, drainage. Allow me to ask, what am I likely to see for failure of appreciating what an architect does on my project?
So what you normally see out here, bad design, it may be an ugly building to some, but what I mean by bad design is it has no condition of occupancy where someone is comfortable. So it has bad lighting, bad ventilation, roof is leaking, poor substandard materials, spaces don't work. Shaona hizi Kikuyu landlords where you enter a kitchen na huko kuna.
Did you say Kikuyu landlords?
There are some. Okay, that's the term.
Yes.
Social media has used that term.
That kakiria. It's like 3 feet wide.
Yes.
There is a toilet seat here.
And then there's
or is the bathroom there or the bathroom?
God,
you don't know which one it is. Yeah. And then you're wondering how someone will cook, and it's like half a meter. You're cooking. There's a fridge. It's supposed to be a cooker. There's a wall. It's supposed to be a sink. Messed up design. Basically, doesn't work.
I have visited some relatives' house up country. I cannot. The doors in the house, I have to bend. Nilishanga.
What?
Like, okay, fundi alifanya hii kazi ndio, but like doors, so they're supposed to have
at least a standard height. And it looks harmless until you start having back problems. Kila saa uko hivi kwa nyumba
all the time.
I have an interesting thing about that. I was interacting with my contractor friend, and he was saying that he has a client who is a Kisi, and and one of the rules were like, my house has to have 2 doors. I think it's a cultural thing.
Mbele na nyuma hiyo ni constant. Yes.
Okay.
There are people who cannot use the front door.
Yes.
Kwanza for Kisii is very strict.
Yes.
Kuna wale wanaingilia
kwa nyumba,
mlango ya nyuma
to the kitchen.
Mbele ni ya wenye nyumba.
Yeah.
And people
so I had thinking how culture influences our architectural style a lot. I think that applies to the Kikuyu landlord that you say maybe I don't know.
Yes.
At some point, kuna
No,
culture ina influence.
One of the things that has shouted to me most is my dad built his house, started building it in 1989, back in Aromoro. And now we look at the windows. Like the bedroom I grew up in is like a cell.
Oh, wow.
The window is like 1.5 times this table.
What? Okay.
So even during the day, now that we have solar, tutujaletewa last mile steamer tunangoja. Even during the day, I want to have the lights on. You know, the way now I see people are putting very generous windows for natural light, ratio, and all that. So at least we appreciate it. You know, I have to remind you guys, ningepata
Ningefanya
architecture. Haya, tell us. In fact, use Nairobi so that we can even straight get into the topic of the day about flooding. Failure to appreciate your profession. I would just remind people watching, Nairobi saa hivi inatubite. Failure to appreciate urban planning, urban design, problems that we are currently encountering.
I think flooding is not a new thing. It's not. It's something huwa happen every time it rains. I think a lot of us have anxiety. Tuko na wasiwasi. Tukiona tu mvua, you want to be at your home, maybe anywhere in CBD. But according to Nairobi's master plan, there are areas that we are not supposed to develop. Like, there are areas where, like, in Njia nature, even the people planning for the first master plan, I think in the 1960s, they knew that this area might flood.
So allow me to ask again. When you talk about the Nairobi master plan, your reference is miaka gani? Your master plan was
1960s.
1960s.
Nah, it's the colonial that planned it.
Carry on.
So according to that master plan, there are certain areas that are not developed. So actually, Nairobi wasn't supposed to be a city, a major city as it was. I think people are like, pesa imeisha and the railway imefika hapa. So and a lot of economic activities had already started.
Now unasema tu hata how blink. Nairobi was not supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a swampy
Look
area.
at the conditions in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Why would you make that?
Even if you angalia, as in Nairobi is a Masai land, right?
Yeah.
And they're they were bright. This is not a region to develop. It's a grazing region. Because it's not it's not a place to stay. It's a swampy area.
So your story ya swamp ni ukweli.
Yes.
Stories za Java. Like Nairobi swamp. Unajua I lived in Zimmerman. And I remember people are saying houses are sinking. No, I can see one of the camera people looking at me because I said Zimmerman. No, they said it was sinking. Several buildings have sunk.
Yeah.
I think we had those stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so the grazing. So we are not supposed to be here. What else?
Yeah. Yeah. But since Nairobi was developing very fast, they had to now find a way of how to continue living.
Corrective.
Yes. So they're like, okay, we can't live here, but we can live the upper side of Nairobi. It's livable. Like in Lavington, Kilelesha, Tusuru. Yeah, that's where they lived. And they decided this other part will have land uses like industries, maybe offices where you don't reside there. Like it's a place where you can just pop in and pop out, just in case there's anything you can easily vacate. Yeah. So that's why they left. Also, there's an aspect of colonialism that came in, wakachia the blacks the other side. Like now,
like zoning and
yeah. So you have to save the lower area, which might flood. It's not a so good area, and they went to the upper land where there's no problem, no anything. So if we were to follow such designs and put such a thing in mind, we wouldn't at some point be in the situation that we are in.
The problem that we are experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, Brenda, nothing has changed. Last year tulikuwa hapa tu. Tukiongea about the same things. But from an architect's perspective, no, you guys are the ones, Parklands, South B, Moja, you're the guys who are supposed to be in charge and see what are some of these mistakes, oversight. My tribe mates would say ignorance, but what things do people ignore? They misuse that word. What are people ignoring? What are people overlooking? What are people not doing that is making the situation worse from an architect's perspective? Yes. Yeah.
So from the root point where in a plot, ideally you're not supposed to develop all of it. It's supposed to leave some green space. And that green space is not just for nature. Actually, it's supposed to also help with flooding, because whatever rainwater that collects in your compound is supposed to reticulate, to go to the ground in that space.
Not all of it is just
not all of it supposed to flow off to the road where there's a stormwater drainage.
Okay.
But now we've built beacon to beacon, and then the roads already, the design is not able to cater for all the runoff from all the plots when it rains. Otherwise, we'll need like 4-meter deep drainages. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like to carry when there is this like flash floods.
Yes.
The heavy rain within a short time.
Because remember, also the rain is not just from those plots; it's from uphill. So wherever else that is higher up, all that water will come through that road, and that's what causes the flooding, especially in those plots. Yeah.
I think maybe to add on that, maintenance. I think not enough maintenance is done. When a building is finished and there's proper drainage, that will work 2 meters. When people keep dumping and not clearing when there's rain, as in
you're talking about like direct waste from construction work and related work, or garbage.
It doesn't have to be construction work alone, even garbage also. If we are not accountable on the best practices of how to maintain such things, we'll get ourselves in the same position.
Maybe you can also add what are, from an urban designer's urban planning perspective, which other things are causing all this, not necessarily from an architect's local, but from a more broader city planning perspective. Are there other things that are could be causing the flooding?
I think the most correct thing to say is lack of plans, urban plan. Like generally, we are not following any of that. Imagine I'm referring to a better plan in 1960s, but I'm not saying that these plans were not have never been done. We have very great plans. Actually, professions have at least have come together, try to think about how Nairobi can be planned better. But the problem is we are not implementing.
It's not implemented.
Yeah, we have the
new
ideas
plan. Are there.
Yes.
Like so let me ask you, so does Nairobi now like have a more up-to-date plan? Like, is there a more up-to-date master plan? Is there, we are still...
Yes, we have master plans, but not a stamped master plan. Like new plan. I think new plan is the last one, that a non-master plan that we know of. That
is that the one for JICA something?
I think so.
I think from around 20. There was one that was funded. That was just for the river.
Yeah.
It was for the whole.
It's for the whole of Nairobi. New
one
plan.
That was funded by JICA. Now it cost you 2012, 2013.
Could be that one. But there are also other smaller ones like NAMSI, which is for the Eastlands area. There are many other smaller plans as well. Yeah. Not all of them are ratified though. But even private organizations. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Even school projects. I think I've done a lot of reimagining Nairobi projects. So the ideas are there, but I think
they never get to see.
And they are great ideas. If you ever if you ever get into a university presentation, you'll think
they will always be.
We'll have a brighter future. It's sad there is no code.
Let me ask you guys one that you may not thought have come. Do you think Isli's plan, is it getting better? Isli, do you think it's getting planned? Or is it just looking better, but there could be oversight?
Are you sure it's looking better?
It's not looking better at all.
It's better.
No. I was there 2 weeks ago. It's worse.
Yeah.
All those maninis coming up, they are not looking more modern.
It only looks good from afar when you see high-rise buildings. But qua ground, the congestion, the garbage, the lack of coordination between even just the people living there, because what they need services, they need to operate.
Which is back to what she's saying, like
there
is no planning.
No planning.
Panga nyumba yako, mimi nipange yangu
pia.
And will be okay. And is this really flooding? Is it flooding? I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of tarmac and cabro
Yeah.
That there is.
There is,
Yeah.
which people mistake for development.
Yes,
But
yes.
if you are bringing infrastructure, it's not just the tarmac road. Where is the pedestrian walkway? Because the footfall in Isli is in the millions.
Yes, yes, yes.
Where is, if it's non-motorized transport, can you ride your bike?
Yeah.
Can children play? Because I'm seeing apartments where children live, but where are they playing?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
None.
Yes. I saw guys online complaining about, of course, Isli now will join the list of all these other places that will have the problem to do with watoto hawapati vitamin D
From the sun.
so there will be bone problems. But now let me ask, there was something maybe you're talking about, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more, although we'll have an episode for that, about the zones. Just a little bit, even if which side in the planning. Are there examples that you have, like the way you're saying watu wa kwenda juu na watu wa chini, from the master plans, from the original plan? I don't know, Eastlands, the Road.
I don't think you have to be a planner to know this. There's some land uses that doesn't go together. Like, let's say kuishi, there's an industry, you want to be comfortable kuishi kanda industry. You want your residential place to be very calm, very supportive of other things. Maybe there's a school around, there's a basic amenities. There are land uses that don't match really. So, coming to think of it, those areas in Eastlands are not supposed to exist. Like they are near industry, literally. Those areas, according to master plan in Nairobi, they're supposed to be an industrial
Just
area.
for factories, production,
Yes.
warehouses,
Yes.
plants.
Yes. So there is no way we can go to, maybe I might be living in Syokimau, then I go to government and complain, oh, that fumes are affecting me. But you are living in an industrial area. Yeah, you're not supposed to be there. Yeah. So I think, but what's failing us is our zoning guidelines are not up to par. I think the last one that was released, it's ages ago. It's not very renewed. I think the issue now of corruption comes in. Like when I want to change my land to something, I can easily get a change of use.
It's automatic.
It's automatic. Nobody will come and try and check it. Does this thing that I want to build fit in the land use, in the larger plan? How is it going to affect people around
that area?
Yeah.
I think every time we discuss issues in this country, not just Mjengo, epicenter ni hapo to corruption.
Corruption.
Like you trace it back, you end up, and we'll be talking about that in the last few minutes of this show. But maybe I want you to just deconstruct just a little bit. Story wastewater, containing walls, not wastewater, garbage. Just explain a little bit more, because it means we have a say. We don't just blame Sakaja. Flooding. Residents, Nairobi residents and other urban areas and other places. How does that come into play in the issue about flooding? And also, my walls is in a collapse too. This is just a little bit more structural, technical. How does it?
About the solid waste management, because a huge problem why we have flooding on our roads is because the stormwater drainage along the roadside has been clogged by what? Solid waste. We can blame the one who's supposed to clean, which is the county, but I think the higher blame should fall on the people who you drink your water, you throw your bottle on the drainage. But also the county hasn't provided for dustbins, so tit for tat, but still, both are to blame. We talked about Nairobi River some time back, and we also talked about how it's also the residents who throw or dump effluent wastewater from the houses onto the river. Because why is it dirty? Because we dumped our water there. Then now we complain that the water is dirty. See, I think the residents, we also have some responsibility there as well. We have a lot of responsibility in that, but if you've not provided me with the infrastructure, where can I direct my sewer? You know, that point takes me to the thought that a lot of times when we talk about rivers, a lot of
direction takes to informal, blaming it to informal settlement, like they are that wao ndio wanachafua river yetu, I don't know what, but there's a lot of things at play. They don't have right infrastructure in the first place, so there's no any other way they can direct. Then we come to mbona tuko na informal settlement, our economy is not so supportive of that. Why can't alafu nikisema if I want to be a responsible citizen, hata ni separate waste yangu, alafu zote zinaenda Dandora. Dandora imejaa, so I'm separating my waste na zote zinaenda Dandora. Na Dandora ishaja, right? Na a fun fact about Dandora, it was closed years ago, but it's still being used. But that's not the worst of it.
Anasema it was closed.
Yeah,
early 2000.
How was it closed?
It was declared.
It was declared
full. It was declared
early 2000s.
Early 2000.
Yes, early 2000.
Like we are 20 years late.
Yes, but it's still being used.
Yeah, I need a drink. Where are we living?
But if you go to Dandora, there is a different temperature around that place. It's not just the smell. It's not that it's ugly. If there is gases, but also there is so much heat coming from the dumping.
Like from that pile.
Yes. It's causing the area to have a different temperature. Not because of, I don't know, climate or
whatever.
The decomposition.
Okay, that is serious.
So, okay. Yes, msisahau tuko na role, but okay. At some point.
But I think there is, at a fundamental level, the people who are in charge, there has been serious failure, like very serious failure. So before we talk about corruption, kuna point nilikuwa nimekuuliza lakini I think ilipita. You know, here at opposite on Valley Road, there's a day the wall collapsed. Remember there was this flood that really wreaked havoc. And I'm asking now from an architect's point of view, design, you know, you said hamuchorangi, muna design.
Yes.
Because you see there are a lot of problems. For instance, tell me, you know, grills, we would not want to have houses with grills. But security-wise, it's a problem. So we have forced watu wa chumba kuchomelea to come up with what should be ornamental, beautiful grills. You would not have to have a fence with razor wire. Or I would want to live a place where I can talk to my friend over the fence. Kama vile tunaonanga maju. So we have retaining walls. It's the one I was asking you about. Upper Valley Road, the wall near, I think it's Tourism Fund building, it fell. I don't know if you guys saw it. Ilishika maji. Yesterday I was walking from town, so I saw wameweka. Walitoboa mashimo wakaweka to pipe, whatever you guys call that. So now, shida itakuwa maji itakuja sasa kwa barabara. While there is nowhere for the water to drain to, but at least, because why do we see all these places, Parklands, South Sea, in a compound? How is that in terms from an architect's perspective, from a construction perspective? Unajenga compound, lakini kumbe compound ni dam. And is there a way out?
So, if it was actually like a swamp, already ingekuwa gazetted out. But we create these swamps through our boundary walls. Again, water is supposed to flow downhill. Supposed to also reticulate to the ground where there's grass. Lakini kuna kabro everywhere, alafu kuna boundary wall. So we have obstructed the maji from the natural flow. And wherever it's flowing to, if it doesn't have capacity, then it ends up causing havoc. And where water collects, it inaribu hiyo barabara, it now affects the construction. If it's like retaining walls, now the wall becomes compromised. That wall on Valley Road, because it happened over the rainy season, I suppose it's the rain, because I know many boundary walls around Nairobi that have fallen because of the rain. And it tells you it's a real problem, because then the wall should not have been there in the first place. That's the natural flow of water.
That's how you are giving the example of place iko hili lakini bado kuna flood.
Bado kuna flood.
Maji haina place
ya kuenda, because uko neighbor yetu amefunga sasa, ameka boundary wall sasa. Now we collect our own water.
Then it rains, alafu unakuta maji.
Napanda.
Building on that point, I think tumediscuss history kiasi. umeona vile we are building a lot of this, hatu consider drainage, tunaweka a lot of concrete. Alafu maji yote inaenda in overwhelm. The only channel inaweza pata ifike kwa river, alafu tuna blame that the river is flooding. But literally we've not allowed maybe natural processes like infiltration to happen. So hivyo kujenga wall kuiprevent kwenda vizuri, I think inachangia na a lot of issues with flooding.
Okay. As we wrap up in a few minutes, maybe let's shift gears a bit. Anti-corruption, no, not anti-corruption. Corruption at the heart of it all. I think there have been accusations about your industry, our industry, construction, building, kutoka kwa mabarabara, mahospitali, hata kwa county. Nyinyi ndio mnakula pesa.
Yeah,
but let me ask you a question. You should benefit kwa corruption?
Nani mimi? Nataka nijibu swali kwa kamera.
The reason I am asking that, there's a meme that said that once you benefit from corruption, you'll understand it, but maybe for now we are in the other side of
we are not on the understanding side. We are on this side of but I think what are some of the information that has been floated? I think the claim is that some of the biggest amount of money that is squandered in corruption for industry, and I don't know what you guys think about that, and what are people saying? I mean,
well, in our industry, a lot of money goes through it, and because there are a lot of players here at how they make sure they eat from it. Even there are consultants who are corrupt. Yes. There are regulators who are corrupt. Even at the county, there are people who are corrupt. I mean, people have always been complaining before you get your approval that you've had to go and grease someone's hand before you get it. It's not right. Now, there are those who benefit from it because wanasema, I know someone. So, when they get their approvals faster, they're always willing to pay. Ama, wakiwa site wapatekane kama wajavaa hizo safety helmets and jackets, shoes. Instead of going the whole process of trying to explain to an account inspector and CA inspector, they rather just pay and then what? Okay.
Okay.
Even materials.
So, what have you heard?
I think looking at the bigger picture, your project implementation, tunasikia tu wametenga shilingi bilioni ngapi ya mabarabara. Kazi na hapo. Hiyo kutenga bilioni iko na half sijui ya nani, half ya nani, half ya nani. Before it gets to the project.
The project itself.
Pesa imeisha. I think there's a video Kena did just explaining how the process of corruption happens, especially in this bigger project, and I think it applies a lot in our industry because there's public infrastructure.
Very true because mimi ground the ground nimesikia ikisema like you go to the counties you find that those who are on the higher ranks zile project kubwa za construction
napitia
kwa za watu wao I think even in other government institutions the construction projects it has been said it's for those people so that they can eat properly and I think it's a sad scenario. Have you guys come across projects that have been inflated? That's common. Budgets?
Yes. There was even a famous one is in the public realm. The Lake Basin project that was supposed to be somewhere around 4.5 billion and had been inflated by another billion, and it went to court. They walianika the architects, the surveyors, the contractor. Government was the client. So such a project, you ask yourself, if this is one project that is coming out in the limelight about inflatiwa just to make sure all the pockets
needs are taken care.
Yes. Now imagine
others?
How many others. It's unfortunate that even consultants are in the mix. You collaborate with the contractor to play a client.
Another way nimeona, like things being done, especially on apartments, they advertise, you buy an apartment, but what you don't know, they've used cheap materials to finish the apartment. So you've paid a lot of money but within maybe 2 months or 3 months after you are owning the apartment, vitu zinaanza kutoka, then you have to now replace and do a lot of things.
So they are using cheap things.
Yeah.
But ati mko mnasema even cement now.
Yeah.
There is compromise cement in the market.
Yeah. There's a tweet I saw that somebody was complaining. Alikuwa na mesha. Anaona the cement is
like
compromised.
Using a standard way of checking the strength of cement.
Yes.
And they found it
has
substandard.
It's not up to quality.
Okay, so that is very, very serious. Okay, I think we've had enough time, but before we close, let me ask. I think in the private space we always have very nice projects, but I want to ask you in the public domain, public infrastructure. Is there a project that has impressed you, either out of beauty, just kitu tu umeona was like, I think that was nice. Don't make that face. Is it that hard for you to get?
No, in the public space.
Yeah.
They're normally the proposed projects.
Yeah.
The proposed JK terminal, proposed railway city. They look nice.
They look very nice.
Kwa ground, I don't know if it will be built that way.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of railway city? I think it was very nice. It was being advertised a year ago. I even attended a public participation, and you were being told like try to make this project Kenyan, and I was very enthusiastic. But hakuna nice about it. So
have you seen? Because I think you even have posted it the other day the Narok airport. Have you heard about?
No.
The proposed. The president was in Masailand, so he said. Narok International Airport, so that tourists can come straight into Masai. Then it needs to look very nice. They're on the website for the architects. They look. In fact, they have that feel for that railway station.
Okay.
But maybe I can ask, since you guys are struggling, like in the SGR, the stations.
So
what do you think about the different stations?
For the SGR, there was really. Yes, they were Kenyan designers, but they were already determined from China.
Yeah.
They're not ours, really.
Yeah.
So some of them are good designs, but we don't own them, really. They're not ours.
The examples I can go back, I think I mentioned this every time. Every project, I think, any nice, well-executed KICC.
Yeah.
It's a very nice intersection between architecture and urban design. And it has, like, always the question sustainability is still nice, even the structure, everything like still standing. So I don't know if you can ever get a project that matches.
That will match.
Not in the number of the tallest, but the quality. Yeah.
In terms of the holistic perspective, many things. What was that church you guys were talking about?
Is it Our Lady of Mercy something in Kericho?
In Kericho,
Yeah.
Is it somewhere kwa valley huko chini ama? So even where it's built is just
on the road. On the road you can see the roof.
Yeah. And the architect was very intentional, like so that you can be able to see the hills. Even the type of material selection. I think most of the materials were imported, they're not from here. So the building looks very costly.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's really nice.
Pesa haikuwa shida.
Pesa si shida.
Pesa haikuwa shida. Even the furniture.
Yes.
The furniture, the glass, the iron mongery.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nice.
Okay. If you are a Catholic, unaweza jua hiyo mji ya msalaba. Imeundwa this several steps that you go and in a very fancy way.
KICC was made to resemble what?
Okay. Hold on. The architect disclosed that recently. That building was built 50 years ago. But, okay. There was no reason for it to resemble the donkeys, remember? There was no reason, really. Even he had no reason. But I really strongly feel that was the language of towers back then. Because if you see Hilton Hotel built around the same time, that's the language. The circular towers.
There was like a style and resemblance across.
Yes.
Okay. No. I mean, sometimes people get the podium and they misuse the podium, or they use it for good or for their own intentions. But definitely, it is a masterpiece that you can't change the Nairobi skyline.
Yeah.
After we let 10 other buildings that are tall, As long as
We can't
that
see.
structure does not appear.
Yeah.
I remember the time the older management put the Samsung advert. And yes, it was revenue,
Yeah.
That was
but
so bad.
some people strongly felt that it was desecrating.
The national monument.
Yes, yes. I mean, and the city's icon,
Mm.
so it changed. Even as a photographer,
Yeah.
like when they removed that Samsung thing, the banner that was around it, now like, finally now we can take a clean picture of Nairobi. So I don't know if you guys have any closing remarks as we wait to prepare for the next episode. Okay.
I think what's coming up in my mind right now is the role you're playing in Flood Day. Yeah, I think as much as there is a lot, maybe systemic things are not working on our side, but if you just try to play your role at some point, maybe you'll be able to solve the issue of flooding or maybe live in a better place at some point. Yeah.
Okay. So.
For me, on the issue of flooding, the fact that it happens every year and seems to be getting worse every year, like, come on, at least utilize the research and recommendations to make sure we don't suffer from these things. I have a feeling because global climate change, there's going to be more rainfall. Surely we can plan for it better.
Okay, sawa. Asante sana for watching episode 8 of Mjengo podcast. We hope that you can join us on the next one. And remember to comment, remember to subscribe, remember to share the podcast. If you have any comments, views, or questions, you can comment below the video. And from us, goodbye and see you on the next one.